apologize for that mix-up. On the headlines, federal government receives 3.2 million J&J COVID-19 vaccines. ECOWAS EOM expresses concerns over Senegal MFDC clash. On the international scene, on Downing Street parties, PM Chancellor to face fines. And on sport, Victoria to host 2026 Commonwealth Games. Now the news in detail. Nigeria's federal government has declared Friday and Monday as holidays in commemoration of Easter celebrations. The Minister of Interior, Rauf Aregbesola, announced the holiday on behalf of the federal government on Tuesday in Abuja. In a statement made known by Shuaib Belgo, the permanent secretary of the ministry, issued on behalf of Aregbesola, who urged Christians to emulate the attributes of sacrifice, togetherness, forgiveness, kindness, love, peace, and patience, which were the virtues and practices of Jesus Christ, as exemplified by his ministry on earth. Aregbesola also called on Christians and all Nigerians alike to use the occasion of this year's Easter celebration to pray for an end to all security challenges bedeviling every part of the country. The Minister of Interior further assured that the federal government of Nigeria will leave no stone unturned to ensure that the recent attacks by undesirable elements on the highways, airports, and railways are timely brought to an end. As the 2023 general elections draw nearer, the federal government of Nigeria has reiterated that the administration of Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari is not and will not be a threat to the media. The Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, gave the reassurance today in Abuja when a delegation of International Press Institute, that is IPI Nigeria chapter, paid him a courtesy call. It said Nigeria had one of the most vibrant and free press in the world, and the administration was not about to stifle press freedom or deny anyone his or her constitutionally guaranteed right, noting that the government that is at the mercy of the media. Mohammed said he was delighted that serious organizations such as IPI were taking the issues of not just press freedom, but also ethics and fake news, among others, very seriously. It charged the Institute to take a holistic look at the issues concerning ethics, regulation, sustainability, credibility, and fake news. The minister noted that some people had misconstrued their efforts to ensure a responsible use of social media as an attempt to tamper with press freedom or threaten independent journalism. Mohammed further commended the media organizations that had set up platforms to fact-check stories that circulate in the media space, contending that it is one sure way to contribute to the fight against fake news and misinformation. And now we move to another story where the Nigerian government has said it has received 3.2 million doses of the Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccines from the Italian government in Abuja. Speaking during a press conference in Abuja, the executive director of the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, Faisal Shuaib, said Nigeria has fully vaccinated a little above 13.5 million people with the first dose of COVID-19 vaccine, representing 12.2% of the eligible population of the country. It said over 23 million people who have received their first doses are yet to take a second jab, a situation the Nigerian government hopes to improve with the rollout of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, which is a single shot. He noted that as of today, Nigeria has fully vaccinated 13.5 million people, which represents approximately 12%. Italian ambassador to Nigeria, Stefano De Leo, said the vaccines was to strengthen bilateral ties between both countries. Walter Mulumbo, country representative of the World Health Organization, that is WHO, and Samuela Isopi, head of the European Union delegation, expressed confidence that the vaccine will help in curtailing the spread of COVID-19 in the country. You're still watching World Now at 4 on Hills TV. When the news return, news from other parts of Africa. Just stay with us. You're welcome back. This is still World Now at 4 on Hills TV. Now to other parts of Africa, where the Economic Organization of West African States Election Observation Mission, that is ECOWAS EOM, has raised concerns on the deadly Casamance clash between the Democratic Movement of Casamance, a separative movement, and the Senegalese armed forces, which has left thousands of Gambians who lived around villages bordering Casamance internally displaced around the Foni. The ECOWAS EOM preliminary statement on elections findings, which was read by Mohammed Ibn Chambers to media professionals, states that the EOM, however, remains concerned about clashes between the Senegalese ECOMIG troops and the Movement of Democratic Forces of Casamance, which is the MFDC, that has led to the displacement of thousands of Gambians along the border communities, specifically in the Foni region close to Election Day. The emergency situation, which left many stranded as they uncomfortably sought refuge in neighboring villages, made it hard and perhaps almost impossible for Gambians living around the border of Casamance to cast their votes in the parliamentary elections. The mission also added that situations in the Casamance region continues to highlight the plight of internally displaced persons. Meanwhile, countries that are contributing to military personnel in the SADC mission in Mozambique has joined a Southern African Development Community Extraordinary Organ Troika Summit of the South African member states. South Africa's president and chairperson SADC organ on politics, security, defense cooperation, Cyril Ramaphosa, while declaring the virtual meeting open, commended those present for their commitment in fighting insecurity in Mozambique, as well as condoled with member states whose military personnel paid the supreme price in the fight.
Since our last meeting, there have been developments in the theater of operation. There have been notable successes in the operations of SAMIM, and at the same time some challenges. I equally appreciate and commend member states for having deployed personnel and equipment in support of our work in Mozambique. We have also received reports about casualties suffered by SAMIM and the Mozambican Defense Force. At this moment, I wish to extend our deepest condolences to the governments of Botswana, Lesotho, United Republic of Tanzania, Mozambique, and my own government, South Africa, for the demise of our sons who were lost in the line of duty. We also extend our best wishes for the speedy recovery of those who were wounded in action.
You're still on to World Now at 4 on Hills TV. Now to other parts of the world after this break. Just stay with us. Welcome back. Prime Minister Boris Johnson and Chancellor Rishi Sunak is going to be fined by the police for breaking lockdown laws. The Prime Minister's wife, Carrie Johnson, will also be given a fixed penalty notice. Officials confirmed the three had received notifications of the fine from the Met following an investigation into illegal parties in Downing Street during COVID lockdowns. Spokespeople for Johnson's and Sunak said they had not been told which events the fines were linked to. However, the three were reported to be at the same gathering for the PM's birthday in June 2020, and leader of the Labour, Keir Starmer, and Scotland's First Minister, Nicola Sturgeon, said Johnson and Sunak must resign. The COVID-19 bereaved families for Justice group said there was simply no way either the Prime Minister or Chancellor can continue. And now the United States of America has announced on Tuesday it had ordered all non-essential employees at the Shanghai consulate to leave while voicing concerns for the safety of Americans in China as the government enforces hard lockdowns to contain COVID-19. China has stuck tightly to a policy of zero COVID, aiming to eliminate infections through rigid lockdowns, mass testing, and travel restrictions. But the policy has come under strain since March, as more than 100,000 cases in Shanghai have led to a lockdown of the city's 25 million inhabitants, sparking widespread public outcry over food shortages and an inflexible policy of sending anyone who tests positive to quarantine centers. A spokesperson for United States Beijing Embassy said in a statement that the U.S. State Department has ordered the departure due to the ongoing COVID-19 outbreak, stressing that American diplomats have also raised concerns about the safety and welfare of United States citizens with People's Republic of China officials. Russian leader Vladimir Putin has said his invasion of Ukraine will achieve what he called noble aims. Speaking alongside Belarusian leader Alexander Lukashenko, Putin claimed that a clash with Ukraine had become inevitable. He said he had been left with no other choice but to launch the invasion in a bid to protect the Russian-speaking Donbas region. The United Nations says 10 million people have fled their homes since the invasion began. Meanwhile, the Kremlin claims that the Ukraine has committed genocide against Russian speakers in eastern Ukraine, but there is no evidence to suggest that it is the case. More than 10 million people have been forced to flee their homes since the invasion began, and Russia's economy has been rocked by a package of severe sanctions imposed by Western nations. However, the Russian president said that Russia does not intend to be isolated, arguing that it is impossible to severely isolate anyone in the modern world, especially such a vast country as Russia. We now move to business news. After this time out, to stay with us. You're welcome back. You're still watching World Now at 4 on Hills TV. And now we move over to business news. On business news, Kenya plans to double tax on foreign tech giants which use the internet to market and sell products. And this is a signal that Nairobi is hardening its stance against the United States-backed global minimum rate on multinationals. Kenya's Treasury proposed to increase digital tax service, that is DST, to 3% of the gross value of online transactions in the financial year starting July from the current 1.5% through the Finance Bill 2022. Meanwhile, Kenya Revenue Authorities, that's the KRA, has identified foreign firms which derive income in Kenya through digital marketplaces, selling inclusively online or providing platforms for such deals as a major driver of tax recipients in a highly digitalizing global economy. Kenya, Nigeria, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka are one of those that have held its vote on U.S.-fronted global minimum corporate tax at the rate of 15% under the Paris-based Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, which is OECD. Meanwhile, the United States inflation rate has hit a fresh 40 years high in the year to March after fuel prices soared during the first full month of the Ukraine war. Consumer price surged by 8.5%, the largest annual gain since December 1981, following a double-digit rise in energy prices. Last month, U.S. President Joe Biden banned all imports of oil and gas from Russia following the invasion on Ukraine. At the same time, U.S. fuel prices reached new record, and the attack on Ukraine began February 24 and triggered a wave of international sanctions against Russia, which is the world's second largest oil exporter. U.S. energy prices rose by 32% in the year to March, according to the country's Labor Department. Let's now join Aynan Lubem on Sport News. Do stay with us.
Good evening and welcome to Sport News on World Now at 4. I am Aynan Lubem. Plateau United on Monday missed the opportunity to go to the top of the Nigeria Professional Football League after playing a 1-1 draw at Kwara United in their Matchday 22 fixture, while Akwa United ended a 5-game winless run, beating Shooting Stars 2-1. Fidelis Ilechukwu side faced a tough test in Ilorin and needed to grab the maximum point to leapfrog leaders Rivers United, who have a date at Katsina United on Wednesday. However, it was Samad Kadiri who grabbed the opportunity for Kwara in the 14th minute, but the lead lasted just 2 minutes as Wasiu Jimo grabbed the equalizer for the visitors. The result comes as a blow for Plateau, with Rivers having a chance to go 4 points clear if they win at Katsina. Meanwhile, at the Godswill Akpabio Stadium in Uyo, Akwa United recorded their first win in 6 league games with a 2-1 triumph over struggling Shooting Stars. Babatunde Bello put Akwa in front in the 14th minute before Naibe Akwesiri made it 2-0 in the 69th minute. However, it was a nervy ending for the champions after Chidera Eze put one back for the visitors in the 81st minute, but the Uyo-based side held on for a win. Abdulaziz Yusuf netted in the 33rd minute Ahmed Jimoh in the 40th minute and Sani Abani in the 74th minute were on the score sheet as host Gombe United humbled Nasarawa United 3-1 at the Pantami Stadium, with Aliyu Abdullahi scoring his consolation goal for the visitors in the 51st minute. The Libyan Football Federation has announced that Frenchman Corentin Martins has been appointed Libya coach after 7 years at the helm of Mauritania. According to the Football Association, the appointment is for a period of 1 year to prepare for the 2023 Africa Cup of Nations qualifier, the draw for which takes place on 19th April, and for the CHAN, the African Nations Championship for players from the African continent, which will be having a draw on April 28. The 52-year-old Corentin Martins, who won 14 caps and scored 1 goal for the French national team, was in charge of the Mauritibunis from 2014 to 2021. He has qualified twice for the CHAN without playing the second one at the head of his team. It was gathered that the Breton is taking his Mauritanian assistant, Saul Mustafa, to Libya. Away from Libya now to Ivory Coast, where Ivory Coast Football Federation, that is FIF, has decided against renewing the contract of national team coach Patrice Boumel, whose original deal ended last week. Reporters noted that the 43-year-old failed to lead the Elephants to the playoffs for the 2022 World Cup, with the West Africans then suffering a last 16 exit at the Africa Cup of Nations earlier this year. Two-time African champions Ivory Coast were beaten by Egypt on penalties following a goalless draw in Cameroon. After failing to progress from their World Cup qualifying group, Frenchman Boumel accused world governing body FIFA of killing African football by only allowing 5 spots for the continent at the tournament. Boumel, who was assistant to Hervé Renard when the Ivorians won the Nations Cup in 2015, had been in charge of the side since March 2020. He previously had a stint in charge of Zambia, having also served as Renard's assistant with the Chipolopolo. A normalization committee installed by FIFA is running FIF ahead of presidential elections on April 23 and announced the decision on Monday. A statement on the FIF website said the committee salutes Boumel's human qualities, commitment, professionalism, humility, and discretion. Ivory Coast becomes the latest African country to part company with their boss, with Burkina Faso, Egypt, and Mali also searching for new coaches. And now to international football, where Chelsea boss Thomas Tuchel says his side are allowed to dream as they try to overturn a 2-goal deficit at Real Madrid in the Champions League. Recall that the Blues were beaten 3-1 by the Spanish side in the first leg of their quarter-final and travelled to the Bernabeu for the return leg on Tuesday. Chelsea won the competition last season under Tuchel, and the German has said it is one of the biggest challenges to perform away at the Bernabeu. Real have won Europe's top competition a record of 13 times, and no English side has ever won a Champions League game at the Bernabeu by more than a single goal. Real Madrid manager Carlo Ancelotti is bidding to qualify for the Champions League semi-finals for the 8th time in his career, which would be the joint topmost by a coach in the competition, along with Pep Guardiola and Jose Mourinho. And that's sports news on World Now at 4. Back to Peace for the rest of the news.
Thank you so much, Ainan Lubem, for sports news. The United States of America officials have announced sanctions against several top members of the Irish Kinahan organized crime group. Speaking at a news conference in Dublin, Drew Harris, the Commissioner of Ireland's police force, hailed the sanctions and warned senior gang members couldn't hide from justice forever. The United States Undersecretary of Terrorism and Financial Intelligence, Brian Nelson, said the gang smuggles deadly narcotics, including cocaine, to Europe and is a threat to the entire illicit economy through its role in international money laundering. Among the 7 individuals sanctioned by the United States Treasury is Daniel Kinahan, who has previously worked as an advisor to boxer Tyson Fury. The gang, which the Treasury Department says now uses Dubai as a hub for its illegal activities, operates in Ireland, the United Kingdom, Spain, and the United Arab Emirates, which with interest in the drug trade and money laundering, according to the Treasury. The United States Drug Enforcement Agency has also offered rewards for up to $5 million for information leading to arrest of any of the 3 Kinahans. And that's well now at 4, but before we go, here are the headlines again. We told you that the federal government has just received 3.2 million Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccines. The ECOWAS EOM has expressed concerns over Senegal MFDC clash. And from Downing Street, the Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, and Chancellor is to face fines. Victoria is to host 2026 Commonwealth Games, and that was on Sports News. Remember to visit us on Facebook at Hills TV, Instagram at Hills TV, subscribe to our YouTube channel at Hills TV. I am Peace Ogenegbawe. Thank you for watching.